Hey everybody, I just got out of the shower and we're working on some of my game ideas. And My wife and my daughter talked to me about certain things. Uh, Amy said that both methane and sulfur bond to hydrogen and form similar shapes of carbon. Simple variations, basically two chemical variants. Sulfur is simply a little more reactive than methane, right? She said that's why I'm mostly still carbon, right? Even though my soul is methane compared to most people. Uh, and She said that mostly the flood, are very close to how I described them. And therefore, we would need to put a label on the game warning the player about the eventuality of meeting this race, right? Amber said that the flood are basically lack of half a brain and would not know how to fly. They would not think about flying, right? Uh, and she said to avoid that the left planet in the alignment below the Orion's belt, that's where the floods are. She said basically avoid that planet entirely, and humanity would be safe. She said both other planets, the one in the middle in the alignment and the one on the right, should hold value for the human race and should be explored. Just simply avoid the one on the left at all costs. Unless they would evolve, we would not come into contact with them. They would still apparently survive in our environment, but the odds of meeting the flood simply should not happen. However, the player or soldiers need to be prepared in the eventuality that we may need access to that planet for the sulfur in case we would need it. And it's best to be mentally prepared to deal with the flood, right? So therefore, the Halo players, playing the second and third title in the series of my rewrites, would have to see a warning label right from the get go, and therefore adding a layer of realism to the games, right? So they said they would apply different labels to each game depending on what game where the player's playing. He would realize that some of it is real. Yeah. For example, the first one would be lightly based on my story, right? So lightly, so therefore there would be a warning. The story of this game is lightly based on a true story, right? And the second and third game would have a warning. A creature designed in this game is likely based on a possibly newfound alien race, right? Basically, that's what we discussed, me and GTF2, for period. Yeah. And the fourth, well, would simply be its own game, right? So, I'm just chilling. Like I said, I've been talking to GTF2 about my game ideas and stuff, right? They said they were contacting Microsoft and Nintendo and writing to them basically what I'm saying, right? And all. They mostly like my ideas, apparently. They asked how much I wanted for my scripts. I told GTF to just tell them that basically I would just ask a system and copies of the games that I wrote when they're ready, when they're released, right? Because I would hold them dear because I wrote them, right? I had the ideas, right? You know what I mean? That's all I would ask, and possibly a special mention in the game at the end of the credits that I provided most of the script, right? They're still working some of the designs, but my wife apparently Microsoft actually are working on the first and second title as we speak. They're already working hard. Nintendo is apparently, especially for the Zelda Kingdom Under Fire, they really like it, and the Luigi's Mansion game. They're apparently, and apparently they were somewhat working on the Star Fox game, and are considering some changes based on what I said, my recommendation. That's what my wife and GTF just said. So that's good, that's good. I'm glad that both Microsoft and Nintendo really like some of my ideas, whether or not they use them 100%. For sure that the thing is they have to design the gameplay around the story, right? and it all depends on performance of the systems or the platform that these games will be on. So obviously some things may change a little from the script. It depends on the game devs. It depends on the game developers of what they can actually do in gameplay. And these games still have to be fun, right? They can't compromise on gameplay, right? So, but they can always modify the gameplay to reflect the story, right? Like that member said. So I can't wait to try these games, myself. When's they're released, I looked at the Switch 2 specs, a Tegra processor, similar to the Xbox or PlayStation 4, Xbox One or PlayStation 4 in power, and 12 gigs of RAM. Still decent. Obviously, the games would not be as big as I would hope for the Halo games, right? I would really make really big games. For the Nintendo games, some of it may be more than doable. Like we just mentioned, should be more than doable. Right? Of course, they will basically have to use the Switch's RAM to buffer the game's graphics. Yeah, that's what I see. And so, it will depend on the game devs, how they optimize the games to work on the systems, and what would be possible, on each platform that they would plan on releasing these games. You know what I mean? I would suggest Microsoft branches out for these Halo games to increase in sales, right? Make them available on all available platforms that they can, right? Thus, I would just need a Switch too if they can optimize a game to run on it. But again, it's all depending on game devs, right? It's all how they can work the gameplay of the games with the story and the scripts that I provided them. You know what I mean? As far as money, I'm not looking for money for my ideas and my scripts. I'm simply a gamer who has ideas, on games he would like to play, right? And wanted to voice out his opinion and what he wants as a game, right? You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. That's all I could ask for is actually get the chance to play these games, right? Deep down as a gamer, it's up to these companies to decide what my ideas are worth. Period. Anyways, right? I wouldn't be able to ask. I would. Plus, these companies will have to invest money to make these games, right? Pay the developers and stuff, right? So I would feel kind of a little awful to ask for money, even though I could just sell my ideas, right? You know what I mean? But that's not the point. The point is to make great games that everybody can play, and you can all agree that my ideas make some sort of sense, right? These would be great titles that fans of the series or these, they would would appeal to the fan base. Even GTF 2 females said my ideas would make some sense, and even them would love to play some of my games. You know what I mean? See, that's my point. Make the games appeal to both male and female audience. We're looking at possible options of making some of the Halo games kind of like Halo 3, where you can play two-player for the game, the campaign. But it will have some minor work where we're still working on the story and how the gameplay will fit in together, right? And the enemies' designs, and stuff, how it all fits together, right, with the story that I wrote. That's the point. And the success of these games will all depend on how the game developers work the gameplay around the story. You know what I mean? And add level of realism in the Halo games. You know what I mean? Even though it's likely based on real life events or real life story, it's up to the game devs at this point, to finalize the build of these games, because I'm not a level editor. I don't create levels or whatever for in games. It's up to those people. And I don't want to steal the thunder from the actual screenwriters for these games. They can modify my scripts as they see fit to fit the gameplay if something does not work. I just provided my ideas and my opinions. As a player, what I would like as a game. That's the whole point of being a gamer and being a fan of video games, is appreciating the media as an art form. Yeah, like that agent said. You know what I mean. I simply provided some opinions, and it's up to them to decide if they're worth money or not. So they said that to await contact because both Microsoft and Nintendo wish to speak to me. Apparently, that's what GTF2 said. You will possibly get contacted, to discuss, with them. So it's up to them. If they want to give me a call or somehow, talk through my box, I guess, or somehow, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. All I'm saying is, I'm open to talk. No, not a problem. They can contact me, whenever is possible, and discuss. If I have any other ideas, I'll let GTF2 know. Right now, I think I'm full. I pretty much gave up plenty of ideas, So we'll see, and on what available platform will the Halo games be? How big will they be? Right? That's the thing. Microsoft, I think, are releasing a new Series X, or is about to release it. I'm not sure. I heard about it. So they might want to do an increase, a bump in power, right, to produce the Halo games, right, that I want, right. They could do a massive RAM upgrade, massive storage upgrade, to buffer and use some of the storage to buffer. They might be willing to redesign the whole game system. Based to make some of these Halo games happen. Might be more server based, like that agent said. So who knows? It's up to Microsoft and Nintendo. And not that I don't like Sony, it's just I personally am more Microsoft and Nintendo fan. And if Microsoft want to branch out to Sony or Nintendo, that is up to them. It would actually make some sense. They would sell software, right? But it would mean that Sony would possibly have to rework some of their architecture too to fit. That's a problem. So it's up to Microsoft, to see what is workable or what is available on the table. What are their tools? And work some of these titles, right? So. I just provided my opinions on what I would like to play in video games, right? What I would like to see, despite not having my own gaming system right now. I'm working on so many things I would not have much time, but to play video games. But who knows? One day, maybe I'm gonna have 5-10 minutes off to play a video game, right? Who knows, right? I would still love to have the games to hold in a collection because I wrote the story, right? And play them on some of my personal time, take a 15-minute break here and there, kind of thing. Play a little video games, right? So who knows,